Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Anyhow Anyway by Summer England. I am your literary chaos podcast host, Summer England, and we talk about all things bookish, cozy, and chaotic. I am coming at you today on my second snow day. We are absolutely covered in ice and snow here in the dearest Shenandoah Valley. Also, I'm only ever so slightly delirious because I didn't sleep super well last night, but I had my first ever Alani yesterday, and then I had my first ever Celsius today. Did that have anything to do with me not sleeping last night? I don't know, but I'm on it. I'm on a no sleep, but also with a Celsius, okay? And I feel like anyone I've ever met who drinks Alani has really long nails and they tap on the can, and I'm not that girl. It was just on sale at Aldi's, and I just wanted to understand. So here we are. Now, one thing that is very important to note is that I have new podcast art, and I am so very excited about it. It's by Jillian Keeshlin Art, and she did my podcast art for another podcast I had with The Neighbor way back in the day. And if you don't know who The Neighbor is, then wow, you're a new listener and new to me. Hello, welcome. Anyhow, I sort of became semi-ish famous because I told the love story about falling in love with the neighbor and blah, 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 blah. And we had a podcast together for a short period of time, and Jillian Keeshlin did the art for that, and she is amazing. And this chaos woman who has her own podcast with her friend Maggie, it's called The Podcast of Smut and Dragons. I highly recommend you listen to it. It's so fun. Anyhow, I sent this amazing woman with this amazing brain 2 pictures. One of them was a logo for a jar of tomato sauce. And then the other one was a Google screen grab of, I just put in global village house aesthetic, coffee house aesthetic. And she, within 24 hours, had this art turned around to me with a picture that I sent, a reference photo from I don't know, 3 years ago, and I had glasses and bangs, and I was like, I think this is the vibe for the podcast. I do not know how she crawled into my brain and put forth. Also, again, it was the logo from a tomato jar, and she was able to extract exactly the information out of it. So, Anyhow Anyway we're stepping up. This is our 24th episode. I have been doing this for 24 weeks. We're racing towards the end of season 1, and season 2 will begin in the new year. I'll batch some episodes because your girl is employed, meaning I'm a full-time classical actress. And I took a short break over the summer. I was not on contract, and I was writing and such, and now I'm back on contract with Christmas Carol, and then I'm back on contract again in the spring. And you can catch me in 12th Night and Bold Stroke of Her Husband and stuff. And basically, I'm batching a bunch of episodes before that contract starts so that I can just stay ahead of the game. But I am so enjoying this podcast. Thank you all for listening. My big goal in the New Year's is to get this podcast sponsored by literally anybody. I don't care if it's Mint Mobile. I don't care if it's Quince. And honestly, my standards are pretty. I would love to be hey, everybody, have you ever looked at your bedding and thought to yourself, gosh, I wish you were gingham? Well, look no further. Quince is offering 15% off with code SummerECozy20. You know what I mean? Come on. Just imagine. So anyhow, like and subscribe. Wait, no. Rate and review. It helps on Apple Podcasts and anywhere that you listen to podcasts and all that jazz. Now today, we're getting into it. It's the Christmas season. Okay, I am in the Christmas spirit. Not only am I performing a professional production of Christmas Carol 9 times a week, but I'm in the Christmas spirit and nobody can take it from me. I am cozy. I'm in my house for the first time, a house that I own. And you know what that means? It's time for a bookish girl's guide to Christmas, okay? I'm about to give you a list of book recommendations. It's going to come out with an accompanying Substack article. Yeah, that's right. I'm also going to write on my Substack. You know what I mean? Anyhow, that's what's going on. Also, if you hear a little voice behind me or like a gentle whirring noise, I have my heater on, and I also have my child in here because snow day. Anyways, it is cozy Christmas, chaos, craft, and book time, okay? So let's get in, without further ado, to my bookish recommendations. Now, these are book recommendations, all of which are based on my own biases because I like these books. They all range from a 3.5 to a 5-star read for me. 3.5 is still a really good, excellent read, okay? Let's just be clear about that. And these are specifically curated in such a way where you've got three options. One, you have a bookish friend and you know that these are on their TBR. Two, you have a bookish friend who really loves a book but doesn't have a physical copy of it. And then the other option is this is for you. Okay, so these are my book recommendations, and I have them in very specific subcategories. Okay, but let's start with the most important one. All right, stuffing the stocking of the guide for your smut-obsessed friend or for yourself. Okay, that's right. We're going to stuff that stocking. First off, we're starting with anything Holly Wilde. Now, Holly Wilde is not for the faint of heart. Holly Wilde, I would say, is not an introductory smut author. If you want introductory smut or something of the like, I would go more with like C.M. Nascosta and that series, which is Morning Glory Milking Farm, but also there's more in there. Or ACOTAR is a totally, like warm you up to the idea of smut, or like romance forward fantasy that has explicit scenes in it. Holly Wilde is sentient-object smut. Every book by Holly Wilde is chaos. I'm going to do a full review of her Christmas novellas, smutty sentient-object novellas, next week, but I will say that I read one last night, and it is hard to shock me with smut. I was so shocked I gasped aloud because it was deeply unhinged. Holly Wilde is the author who wrote Halloween, which is a girl goes in the bathroom and says, "I see you pee," like 3 times in a row, a la Bloody Mary. And then these 3 sentient pumpkins are there. You know what I mean? Okay, you know what I mean. Anyways, so we've got anything Holly Wilde, okay? For your smut-obsessed friend. And this is for the again, smut-obsessed. Then, secondary, A Court of Sugar and Spice by Rebecca F. Kinney. Now, this is not a cozy book. This is a smutty retelling of the Nutcracker. It's dark and twisted, so definitely read that content warning. Know your friend, know yourself, know people. I really like this book. It also has an additional plus for me because it is wintry, and I love reading within the season, which is another category that we're going to get to later on in this episode. Anyhow, A Court of Sugar and Spice by Rebecca F. Kinney is very, very fun. It does feature a trope or not a trope, but perhaps a reoccurrence in smut wherein the male character, his gifts that happen when he gets excited, has a really specific flavor. And I think that is a very funny thing that happens in a lot of smut books, is that, it's sort of like good soup, or it tastes like ice cream or something like that. And that definitely features, because Sugar Plum Fairy. The third one, each one of these has 3 books, is Morning Glory Milking Farm by C.M. Nascosta. Now, here's the thing. I think it might be weird for me to say, but I am going to say it. I think Morning Glory Milking Farm changed my life, which is so embarrassing to say, but it's true, because it was my first smut book. I had read fantasy books that had explicit scenes in it. I had not really dipped my toe into actual smut. I didn't read erotic. It just wasn't what I had read before. And I got the novel Coronavirus back in 2023. And during the time, my brain was just so muddled, and I was like, why don't I just read smut? And this was recommended to me. And I thought it was the most unhinged concept that, of course, I had to read it. Now, Is it unhinged? 100%. Shockingly, the story and the romance within is very sweet. It's one of the sweeter smut books I've ever read, because a lot of smut books is like, obviously it's like literary corn. And so it's not necessarily as much romance forward, but this one is very oddly like normal, situations to go into. And anyhow, it changed my life because I read that smut book and then I posted a review about it and I got like 100,000 Instagram followers sort of immediately, which is wild to me because I had never really posted on Instagram like in that way before. I was always a TikTok girl, and now I'm on Instagram, and I would say Instagram has changed the trajectory of my career way more than TikTok, and I also like it way better because TikTok rewards you for posting a bunch and Instagram is like whenever. I don't know, I just like it. I just like it better, but at the end of the day I don't like social media, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, Morning Glory Milking Firm changed my life. It's unhinged. It's so funny. It's also one of those books that somebody gifted to me because they knew that I had read it on an e-reader. I did not have a physical copy of it, and now I have a physical copy of it. And the cover of it, either cover, there's two different types. There's like a very simple one with like a gloved hand and a udder or something, and then there's one that looks like a Renaissance portrait. It is so funny. So this is one that even if you know your smut friend has read it but they don't have a physical copy, you might consider, because who doesn't want to add that to their shelf? Now, that is for your smut obsessed friend. You're welcome. Stuff those stockings, baby. Now we're getting into your romantasy obsessed friend, or yourself. Now, before we go into this, there's an author featured on here twice, and it's Sangu Mandanna. What do you want me to say? Okay? This woman, I would say, is like the cornerstone of cozy romantasy. In as much as Legends and Lattes feels like the cornerstone of cozy fantasy, which I know is a genre or a vibe or a type of book that existed before now, but it wasn't like on publisher marketplace at that time of like, here's a cozy romantasy, here's a cozy fantasy. Sangu Mandanna, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, to me is a cozy romantasy classic. And also, Sangu Mandanna is a fail-safe author in my experience of recommending books. So what I mean by that is, if you know somebody or yourself who would like to get into reading and would like to start in something with romance, or what have you, I would say Sangu Mandanna is like she's just fantastic. Her writing, one, is gorgeous. And I think that not like no hate on romance novels, no hate on fantasy novels. I think because we are currently in such a trope forward publishing time where it's like, this book is about enemies to lovers and it features a one-bed trope. It feels like the writing is just in service to the trope rather than the trope occurring naturally within the story. And like romantasy, anything that wherein sex is going to sell it, I think sometimes the writing can take a major hit because people are just in it for like, oh, when are they going to get together? Like a Hallmark movie, which is totally fine. I'm not hating on it. Obviously, I read tons of it. Sangu Mandanna is excellent writing, though. And before you're like, how would you even know what makes good writing? Guys, I'm a reader, okay? I have 2 masters in Shakespeare. It doesn't matter. I taught English comp, so I understand what makes a good writer and then writing that feels very plot convenient. She is so fantastic. The stories are beautiful. The love story is always whimsical. There's very cozy magic. It is cozy. It is the essence of cozy to me, and the container of the story is always lovely. It's also British, and also added bonus, an audiobook credit for this can also be a gift because the audiobook narrators for The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches and A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping are stellar, beautiful. They are on my re-listen all the time. Whenever I'm feeling like a little bit sad, I will just craft to Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches or Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, which are my 2 books from this author. in your romantically obsessed friend. If for some reason you have a romantically obsessed person and they haven't happened to read this yet, then you're about to win. You are about to win. Now, the likelihood that they have to have read one of these is pretty high, but A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping just came out this year, so you may be able to get them a physical copy of that. And the cover is really beautiful. There's like multiple editions as well. So that's also like a fun thing. Again, if they listen to it on an audiobook or they have like a different edition of it, this is one of those books that I would say is so well loved. You could get the sprayed edges or you could get the hardback or something, and it would be a really lovely gift. I would love it. I am her biggest fan. We messaged like a second, or like we like each other's stuff on Instagram, and the first time her name popped up, I lost my mind. When she followed me, I mean nothing could have prepared me for how much I fangirled in that moment. I was like, okay, so I've made it. I have made it as an influencer. Meanwhile, I have like it's social media, so like the people that you talk to are so random. I've accidentally talked to so many famous people who messaged me, but I'm just so out of the loop on who is famous and who's in what that I didn't even know I was messaging somebody who was famous until I like clicked on their profile and I was like, oh my god, why do you have like 6 million followers and then you're in a movie? Oh, you're in a movie. Oh, cool. Well, I just thought you were just everybody else. But when Sangu Mandanna, when she liked my reel, she commented on my stuff. And then she followed me. Oh, you would have thought it was Meryl Streep. You would have thought it was Meryl Streep. I cannot meet this. If we're ever at a conference together, I'm going to be like, hey, I really like your stuff. I can't keep my cool. Okay, and the third book in the guide for your romantically obsessed friend is Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher. T. Kingfisher is also going to be featured in this next subgenre of books of like types of books and stuff. Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher is a romantasy. T. Kingfisher is an expert at writing a heroine in a fantasy that is like normal body, a good head on her shoulders, of age, in her 30s. The romance is always like really sweet and approachable, and they have these like just deliciously kind and very honest conversations about their deficits. Her characters are just so self-aware in a way that makes the story cozy in the sense that it is just so close to home, oddly, even though they're like going on fantastical adventures and there's magic, and Sword Heart is literally about a dude trapped in a sword forever, and he's a servant of the sword and this woman who needs to get back her inheritance. And so there, it's like a, I don't know, everything that she writes feels like I am reading Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty or it's just like classics. I'm obsessed with T. Kingfisher. I'm a huge will read everything. It's T. Kingfisher, Sangu Mandanna, and then Casey McQuiston, Ali Hazelwood. These are authors that I'm like, I'm reading their backlog. I'm reading everything that they have put out from their fingertips. And T. Kingfisher is one of them. Sword Heart is also, again, a beautiful, like the cover of the book is so gorgeous. And I cannot stress enough that if you have a bookish friend in your life and her bookshelf is missing a few titles because she read them on an e-reader, or she got an EPUB file because she's like ahead of the game and she's an influencer and she got that file before it ever came out, get that girl a hard copy, I promise. Okay? Sword Heart is beautiful. Okay. Now we're into a subgenre of girly, of bookish human, bookish person. And it is the friend who is obsessed with reading books that feel like the season we are currently in. Now, I do this, and so that's why it exists as a subgenre. Because obviously, when people are like, oh, there's two types of people in a relationship, the person who knows where they're going and the person who doesn't. And it's always like through the filter of their own biases. This one definitely is. Because I'm like, there's only 3 types of people in the world, right? The people who like romance, the people who like smut, and the people who are seasonal. Who reads nonfiction? Come on. Actually, I love nonfiction. So I don't, anyway, I digress. So if you're like me, which maybe you are because we're 20 minutes into me just rambling, my ADHD cadence, my ADHD autistic cadence. So if you're like me, you like to read a book that mimics the outside, or maybe it's the exact opposite, where it's like super wintry outside, so you want to read a summer book, or it's super hot outside and you want to read a winter book. But I need to read about the season that we're in. Only in transitional seasons, like usually the spring, I don't need to read a book that happens in the spring. In autumn, I'm reading autumn books. In the winter, I have to read winter books. Okay, and in the summer, it's the same thing. Spring is the only one where I'm like, I don't care. Okay. First up is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. She is the author who wrote Uprooted and Deadly Education, and this is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, and guys, it's heat, okay? It is frigid. The book is so cold in the best way. It's like a little dark. There is sort of a romance in it, but it's definitely not in the era. I mean, if it were written now, I am sure, I'm 100% positive, if a publisher got their hands on it, they would be like, we're making this into a romance, like a full-fledged. But it's not, and it's so good. It's so good. Again, another one that has multiple different iteration, or not copies. Wow. Book covers. Fantastic. I love it. I read it a few years ago, also in the winter. I was entranced. It's one of those books that you want to read by candlelight, or you feel like you're in a lighthouse somewhere and there's like a storm raging, but your world is so narrow and tiny because you're just in this like tiny space. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, it makes you feel kept in, or like you're huddled next to a fire for dear life, and not necessarily in a cozy way because there's imminent danger, but you just have to read it, okay? Or you have to get it for your friend who likes to read seasonally. Then we have Thorn Hedge by T. Kingfisher, which is just like a retelling of oh my gosh, I think it's Rapunzel. I believe it's Rapunzel. Anyhow, another T. Kingfisher book. It's a novella. It's fantastic. It's 100% fantastic. No, I'm sorry. It's Sleeping Beauty. It's Sleeping Beauty. It's a retelling of Sleeping Beauty. But also, I could just Google it, but I can't. I can't right now because as soon as I Google it, then I'm going to lose track and I'm going to have to edit it out. So, Thorn Hedge by T. Kingfisher. It's a sweet little novella, so it's a good price for the most part. You can also get it on thrift books, I believe, for a better price. And then finally, we have Where the Dark Stands Still by A.B. Pornick, which is a Polish folklore-inspired book. This is a debut novel. I have recommended it. It's also in my like autumnal recommendations. But I would say this, while it's very fun to read in the autumn because there is like a darkness to it, and it definitely fits the vibe, for the most part, this book reminds me of like frigid winters and dark forests, and it's awesome. So those are my 3 categories of Christmas bookish. Oh my, can I talk? No. I'm on like probably 500 milligrams of caffeine and it's showing. Anyway, that is my category of books, and I think I'm correct about them. But if you have other ideas of like seasonal reads, romantasy reads, etc., put those in the comments so other people can read them. Okay? Including me. Now, heading forward, everybody, I am on Krampus talk. Krampus from Austria. And never have I ever felt more personally called out than when I saw a video and I was so enamored, titillated, gnawing at the bars of my enclosure, and I scroll into the comments and thinking people have to be thinking like me, right? And a lot of the people were like, oh my God, this absolutely ruined my childhood. I'm still recovering from the trauma of Krampus. Just negative comment after negative comment, because apparently Krampus was to these people as like the devil and God was to me. But I don't know what warped interaction I've had with the world wherein that Krampus is now my adult version of Polar Express. I'm waiting for Krampus to come hit me with a broom and take me away. I don't know what else to tell you. I know that there are multiple smut books about Krampus. I haven't read those yet. I just like organically TikTok knew that I needed Krampus in my life, and now he's here, and now I'm like, so what is it? How bratty am I going to need to become, more so than I already am, for Krampus to come take me away in the night? Like, just stuff me in a sack and then put me over his back and then take me to like the Carpathian Mountains, because why not like merge a bunch of lore? Also, did you hear about that guy who went missing in the Carpathian Mountains? It's actually really sad. He's a hiker. And it is very sad. Also, my imagination is so intense. And I just watched Frankenstein not that long ago by Guillermo del Toro, who looks like my dad. That's neither here nor there. And so my brain is like, it's just all in the lore. It's all in the like, so are vampires real? And, you know, there are lots of bears in the Carpathian Mountains, but I think Krampus could probably handle them for me as he takes me to his supreme Krampus leader or clan. I bet it's a clan. What's a group of Krampuses called? A clan. I would think, I would assume. So that's been like an early Christmas present to me, I would say, is that without me searching, even thinking, all of the sudden, these burly men in Krampus stuff is all over my For You page, and it's making me really happy. Now, in other things, we need to talk about cozy Christmas chaos crafts, because I've been engaging in a new obsession. And so my former obsession is called chaos scarves, meaning basically I do a combination of stockinette and garter stitches and then crochet a double crocheted border on these scarves, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. I cast on I don't know how many stitches, and then I just go for it until it is impossibly long, because I want you to be able to wrap this scarf around you once, twice, thrice and still have plenty of length, because nothing annoys me more than a short scarf. It's like a short tie. Get away from me. Get away from me. Okay? I love my chaos scarves so much. I just knit them, and I always have enough scarves in the house that if literally any guests come over ever and they need to go outside, I'm constantly offering them a scarf. Are you cold? Do you need a scarf? Do you need an extra scarf? Because you always need scarves, okay? Okay? You never know when a snowstorm is going to hit. Stall out over the mountain because you live in a valley, and then dump years worth of wintry ire upon you, which is what's happened to us in the Shenandoah Valley the last 2 days. Okay, I'm looking at my window in just the snow and ice covered roads. So that's what we're doing. That's what's happening. Anyway, where was I completely just forgot what I was saying. Oh, chaos crafts. I have started to make miniature stockings because I got a bee in my bonnet that I wanted to knit stockings. So I knitted 2 of them, and while I like them, I have found a different pattern, and this pattern is just way more simple, and I don't have to think about it, and I don't really have to count. And I am making miniature stockings. I'm making big stockings. I need to find a giant who needs a bunch of mismatched socks, or a very, very small person with 2 right feet who also could use some socks, because I am making these puppies and I love it. I'm doing stripes. I'm going through all my yarn stash. I don't need that many stockings. I don't know what to do with all these stockings. I guess I'm just going to have stocking decor everywhere. And I am having the best time. My personal opinion is that every craft should be chaotic. And for those of us who struggle with perfectionism, get you a craft and a hobby that it is impossible for you to be perfect at it because you lack the ability to do anything symmetrically or numbers based well. Because that's why I got into watercolor. Because it is like an impossible thing to get right. And I had no formal training in it. And now I have illustrated things before. So don't do that. Don't monetize all your hobbies. Don't be me. Don't be me and do the ADHD autistic eldest daughter Virgo pursuit of monetizing everything that you like. But then, you know what? If you want to, you should do it. But anyhow, the chaos cards are the best thing ever. I would just highly recommend just sitting down and just making something up just randomly and seeing what happens. I did that last year. I just knit a shit ton of squares, and then I sewed them all together while I was listening to smut, and now they're my writing blankets. And people are always like, where did you get those? From my own chaotic machinations. Okay? Okay. All right. Okay? All right. All right. I'm trying to remember the thought that I was going towards. Oof, this is an extra ADHD thing. It's because I'm tired and absolutely hyped up on the drug of my choice, which is caffeine. Oh, okay. In children's literature, hello, everybody. Okay. I almost lost my cool a few days ago because I was talking to someone who was talking about a book and was like, oh, by the time that I was ready to read that book, it felt like a children's book. We're talking about Percy Jackson. And I was like, what are you? Anyways, that's neither here nor there. It just always brings up my huge hang up about living this life, which is adults have to get their heads out of their arses and realize that children's literature is, I believe, an elite form of literature. Middle grade, anything meant for children, because the storylines have to have a takeaway that is both for somebody reading it to them and for children in a way that is like a synthesized story. And I think that it is the most life-changing literature is what we read before, the age of 8. And my kiddo and I are poltergeists at the library. We are reading all of the time. We read 4 to 5 books a day because I obviously read to him every night and then he reads on his own. And so I've been slacking on my children's literature recommendations, but we're back at it. And the book it's actually sort of like an activity book sort of situation. It's called The Backpack Explorer, and this is the Night Walk version. And it comes with a little magnifying glass, and it just is sort of taking you through, here are some things that you might find if you went on a walk at night. And it's interactive, and it's really exciting. And I love any book that encourages a kid to engage with the story or with the physical form of a book differently than just sort of in just reading it or looking for the words or what have you, because I think it just helps, I believe, in the overall overarching hope of when you're asking a child to read, and when I'm reading to my kid, I'm hoping that it allows his brain and exposes his, mind and soul to different ways in which to approach the world and people and situations. And so to have a book, in a very, very, very small form, ask a child to do that in a tactile way of here's a different way to approach a book, I think is really exciting. Also, it's educational. And every kid loves a bug. Kids love bugs. Either it's the worst possible case scenario, or it's like, wow, oh my gosh, I want to be a beetle. And it's very fun. And it's a very, very, very sweet book. Now, if you have a kiddo, or this could also just be for yourself or for your friends. My kiddo and I are making people's presents this year, and the present we are making is a book that we're illustrating together. And he made up the story, and I gave him 20 minutes, and I was like, all right, in 20 minutes, just tell a story, and then I'm going to write it down, and we're going to go from there, because if we think about it too much, then it's going to be too difficult. Let's just write a story in 20 minutes and see what happens. So we did. And then the next part of the chaosness of it, and I think the cozy and the sweetness of it, is that we illustrated the story together, and he sort of did the main character part, but we only were allowed to use, our sort of art challenge was to use pages that had quote unquote mess ups. And I think perfectionism probably is a thing many people struggle with, but it's also maybe hereditary or whatever. I'm trying to ensure that he doesn't have my type of perfectionism, but I think that he does. And whether it's because he's seen it in me or because it's just there, I don't know. So he has a lot of those mess ups. And I think one thing that I've really tried to do as a parent is to ensure, especially from an art point of view, like, oh, some of my best art, some of the art that I'm the most proudest of has come from messing up really bad. And that is something that I've always tried to model for him. I mean, I do a lot of stuff wrong. Like this isn't like, and this is how you're a good parent. These are just the wins that I know that I have. And I think it's okay to celebrate some wins. And this is a win that I have had in that the art really brings out both he and my own experience with wanting things to be really, really good from the beginning. And so he revisited this old art book that he had since he was like 2. And so there are mess ups there when he was learning how to draw and when he was, trying to make a train and it didn't look right. And so we were able to bring all those out. And that was sort of the challenge. So you write a story in 20 minutes and then you're going to illustrate using these mess ups. And because it was presented as sort of like a fun challenge thing, it just like, I don't know, he just like was so excited to do it. And we had such a fun time making them together. And I'm going to scan them and then put words on top of them that he wrote. And then that's going to be our Christmas gifts to people this year, is this homemade book that we did together as a little cozy Christmas craft. And I love a cozy Christmas craft for kids that has a larger takeaway, but that, he's gonna do with that what he will. However, I had a great time, he had a great time, and now he wants to do more. And perhaps, did I just Nepo baby my baby into being an author? Maybe. Oh my gosh, wait, speaking of Nepo baby, I need to Nepo baby myself. So for your friend who's romantasy obsessed, smut obsessed, and wants to read in the season that they're in, what about the friend who's ahead of the game and wants to pre-order The Impossible Garden of Clara Thorne by Summer England? Because let me just tell you, it's sapphic, it's cozy, it features a main character who is in her, how old is she? She's 29. Yeah, she's 29. And she gets sent on an adventure and has to leave home, and she's a big, huge homebody, and she really doesn't want to do it. But she learns what home means to her and to her heart. And, it's about a magicless witch gardener who is sent on an adventure that requires her to grow a garden with magic. And I think if you wanted to pre-order your friend a book, it is a really beautiful cover. The cover art is genuinely sensational. So, it's something you might consider. It's something you might consider. Okay, it's to hop in that pre-order and all of that. Also, there was a person, if you're a listener to this podcast, hello. There was a person who came to see Christmas Carol this weekend and held up a sign that says, "We can't wait to read Clara Thorne" in the audience. And I was just so, oh my gosh, that like blew me out of the water. I was so moved. I was also in the middle of singing Rocking Around the Christmas Tree when they held up the sign, and my brain was like computing 8 million different things at once because I was so focused on the song that I was like, Clara Thorne, what a good name. And then I realized that I wrote that name. I wrote that name. So, you know what? Her name before I had an editor was Clara Evernell, but it wasn't catchy enough. So Evernell, I'm going to probably put into some other fantasy novel, and it will be an Easter egg specifically for those of you that have listened to episode 24 of the Anyhow Anyway podcast. You'll know that if Evernell is in another book that you pre-order for your friend who's ahead of the game, that's on that. So anyways, in the news that doesn't matter, what am I reading, writing, listening to? I am reading Good Spirits by B.K. Borison. B.K. Borison is an awesome author. The First Time Callers, also by B.K. Borison. I'm a huge fan, and immediately within the first few chapters, I was like, oh my gosh, finally a Christmas romance that's good. Yay. Because I have been reading some real flops, some major flops. Oh my gosh. And I hate to DNF. And I know that everyone's like, you only live once. And I'm like, yeah, I only live once and I want to live perfectly. So I'm a perpetual finish what I start, except for my marriage and except for the few of the Christmas books I've DNF'd. So Good Spirits by B.K. Borison is literally fantastic. And I've also been reading a bunch of books that I have to blurb, which is very, very fun. I just can't tell you about them yet because they are so not out. And I am moments away from finishing up my Shakespeare romance about two professors vying for the same tenure track position. I'm having a great time. I'm going to get it turned into my agent, Emily, if you're listening, before Christmas Eve. That is my goal. And right now, I've termed it Unhappy Rivals. I do not know. I'm terrible titling my books. So that is what it is. And that's what I've been writing. And I've been enjoying my little writing routine and spurred on by caffeine and all of that jazz. And what am I listening to? I'm listening to a podcast by Smut and Dragons by Jillian and Maggie. And you should too. It's so fun. They're great. They are great hosts. They're great book reviewers. It's a gaggle with the gals, and I have a great time doing it. So honestly, that's all for the Cozy Chaos podcast. I hope that some of these bookish recommendations make your Christmas wish list more bookish, or might ease up any anxiety you're feeling of like, what do I get my friend who loves books and I don't know the first thing about it? You know what I mean? So that'll be all for me, folks. Like and subscribe, rate and review. Stay cozy, stay bookish. Bye.